Okay, guys, so good morning. It's evening here in the UK, nearly 9 o'clock, so it's early morning for you guys. As always, well done, getting up early in the Monday morning. I can see a new facility, which is, great stuff. So today, we have a session today, guys. It's probably more than likely going to break this session up into two now and next week. It's a really important one. The theme today is about breaking bad habits. And I mentioned throughout the seminar that it's really important that we keep progressing, we keep moving forward. And also, it's always important to not give anything away to the opposition. It really is. And obviously, I mentioned, I think it was a month or so ago, there was, in conversation, the Champions League. And I felt at that point, this is purely from a psychological perspective, guys. I felt that, I think I said it during the seminar and I said it during radio, that I felt that when City had put that team out against Chelsea in the FA Cup, it gives a psychological, I know they put a few players out too, but when you get beat, it gives a psychological edge. And I don't want to pretend I know, because I don't know Pep. I don't know anything about his work. I don't know the players. So I'm sure they have their own game plan. But and many professionals have been talking about how they should have played this, played that. But I'm not sort of harping on about the Champions League, because I know you've obviously probably watched it. And I think for me, my perspective from a psychological point of view, I think sometimes what happens is teams with this psychological edge. And I felt that Chelsea had that psychological edge. And I thought the FA Cup semi-final was an opportunity to reassert that. And how that relates to you guys, for me, is that, okay, we've got different variables. I did the mental side of the game, the mental skills, and I sort of touch on the physical side. So I'm not pretending to know more than, certain coaches when that's their domain. They can answer that question better than me. So you're going to see people saying, well, they should play this, they should play that, they should do this. And they have every right to say that. I don't know. I wouldn't question, obviously, a manager, particularly if I don't know him or anything about what he's doing. But the point I'm trying to make from a psychological point of view, what we can learn when we see these sort of things, is, okay, it's really important you don't give the psychological edge to anyone. That's even in training. In training, it's the same. There are players that you're training against now. You're good friends. You'll be lifelong friends off the field. But on the field and in training, that's where it begins for me. You might end up playing for different international teams. You might end up playing for different state teams. You might end up playing for different professional teams. At some point, you're going to go up against each other if you don't already do so. And it's really important. That's the sort of, the drawback to the game. And certainly in my experience over many years of working not just in football, in sport in general, it is really key, guys, that you stay ruthless. And these moments throughout your career when you play certain teams, you don't want to give players any edge over you psychologically. You need to make sure you keep progressing and moving forward, because the moment they've got that, they build a belief. I have a theory, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I've seen this happen before when teams put weakened teams out, they get beaten, and then they struggle to get momentum again. It's a psychological thing for me. I really think that if you give someone the psychological edge on you, they build that belief. And that's an important thing. Well, this is concerned today, it's about breaking bad habits. And I've seen this for years, by the way, many, many years. And I see athletes playing well in training. And you probably know yourself, you ever sort of hit a really good long pass in training, you score goals in training for fun. But then you struggle to replicate that in the match, and many players do that. Today, I want to address that issue. Today and next week is going to be about how we can break these cycles and how we can prime ourselves for games and performances. It's a two-part seminar for me. Sometimes the other thing is key. No matter how hard you try, you can't grasp the skill. Or maybe behaviorally, you find yourself doing the same thing and you think, I can't believe I've done this again. And I'm going to explain why that happens from this perspective. Sometimes I go into theory because you're intelligent, lads. So I tell you the theory so then you can make your own mind up and decide how you utilize the skills. You're very talented, you're intelligent, you've got ability, and it's down to you to say, well, okay, what Jim said this morning or this evening in the UK, obviously, makes sense to me, and I'll take this and do whatever. This technique and what we're doing here, I've not just delivered to footballers, I've also delivered to other athletes as well as people in business, even delivered training for guys that worked in the Air Force a few years ago. This was one of the areas in the training that I sort of touched on as well for the guys there, and men and women, I should say, and many other athletes have done. So the key thing is to think about what they want to break as habitual behavior. For me, all of us have habits. Some of us serve us. Some of them can be detrimental, self-destructive to the people around us. And you think, well, what do I want to change? That could be anything from, okay, you get to a game and you lose your confidence. Maybe you don't channel your aggression and you get sent off. So these are sort of things to think about. What do I want to change? What's not working for me? Maybe under pressure. I've seen plenty of players in my career doing what I do, put them under pressure. So my job, guys, sometimes is to the coach is to say which players we're going to put under pressure deliberately. And that's no secret. And I don't apologize to anyone for doing that, because sport is sport. I'm employed to help develop players. I'm employed to win matches. To help the team win matches. And if I identify in the opposition players I feel we can target, when I say target, nothing silly like, rash challenge and things like that. I'm saying, put them under pressure. Get on their right foot, get on their left foot, get in their face, don't give them a yard. Because if that player goes, the team goes too, and that's how in my career there's been times we've beat bigger teams. That's the truth. So, people have criticized me for it at times, but that's okay. I have not a problem with that. As I said before, when we play at some point and we get together as a team, Australasian Soccer Academy, we play the opposition. I said before, we won't fear anybody, and we'll go in there and we'll give a good account of ourselves. And obviously the same situation would be, all these players, we can look at them and go from there. And I say that because obviously I've been in the field for a long time and people know. So, but I see players also technical error. They do, and the free kick. And I watch really closely. You'll see me, if you ever see me watch the games, people say, what do you do when you're writing all these sort of notes and on the laptop? And what I'm doing is, I'm not a game analyst, but I'm looking to see what you do in training, what you do in the game. Why is he or her technique different in training for the game? What's happening? Okay, like for example, years ago, I was helping a tennis player, and she played at a high level, and she wanted help with a backhand. I said, if you're teaching me to do the backhand, how would I do it? She couldn't explain it. I said, what about forehand? She could explain it step by step. So I knew immediately, cognitively, there's a block, a barrier. So when I talk to players, and it's not just idle chat, you should be very clear about your technique. You should know consciously what your technique is. If you were training somebody else, you should know what the technique is, guys. Once the habitual behavior has been learned, it can also be good for positive behaviors. for you guys, you got great habits. You get up in the morning, you train, you put it in. You're good lads. You've got, a lot of positives. But like all of us in life, we've got things we need to work on. And that could be free kick under pressure, it could be penalty, and there's no shame in saying, well, actually, you know what, when I'm under pressure, I do this. I've seen the best players, performers in the world on the pressure, go under and go to type, so to speak. It happens. It happens to the best of us, everybody. So it's just, this is why I say it's being really aware, guys, and knowing yourself, being key. And once the wheels fall apart, then it's hard to recover. So when I look at games, I watch games, even though I'm not involved, I watch from a psychological level. I look from a psychological point of view, and I don't want to harp on about yesterday's game because I know nothing about the game, what happened. But just to give you an example, like last night, my daughter, she does football punditry, and she texts me in 70 minutes, and I text her back. I said, listen, City are gone. And why do you say that? I said, because you can see psychologically, but Aguero's coming on. Waste of time. Because one is, been a great player for the club, not undermining him, phenomenal player, great player, but will he psychologically impact the game? I'm not sure. Maybe get someone big, stronger, physical, like a physical player. They got a big physical player, maybe go longer and bring him on too. But the point is, I'm not saying technically, I'm saying tactically. So that sends a message out to the other team, and they see the message. And I watch players and body language, I study it, and I don't pretend. I'm being respectful for those you fans of both teams and to the people involved. And I'm not trying to pretend I know, because I don't. I'm just using it for an example because it's fresh in the memory. But I text back saying, no, in my opinion anyway, if I look at it psychologically, you can see, I'm afraid, you can see when the wheels fall off. And that's another big thing too, guys. You have to be wary when you see yourself resigning yourself to, I can't find a way. You need to be the leader, guys. That's what we want to encourage you to be. You're the Australasian Soccer Academy. You have to be the leader. Plenty of players talk, big talk, but when it's nice and they're winning 3 or 4-0 and everything's going good, it's when you're up against it. That's what we're training you to do, not just be, to use the cricket analogy. Not that I'm an expert in cricket, but you see some of the bats people, the batters, and if the wicket's good and everything's good, fine. But then if it starts, there's a different. You got to dig in. We see people who want to dig in, and that's the key to you guys. This is about also learning to dig in. You see these games, it's waiting for a player, waiting for a player. And I've said before, for 100 times before, give me a player like Kante any day of the week. He's first in my team sheet. Once again, I don't know the guy, but watching him and the demeanor and the ethic and all these things, and you think, okay, the accolades go to the players who dribble and whatever, but these players are the engine rooms. And if you're one of them type of players like that, guys, then you are the fulcrum for me of the team. You're the one that will win the game more often than not, because for the people to play around you, okay, you need a goal scorer, you need a goalkeeper, but you need someone who's going to sort of step up to the plate in the big games. And this is why, for you guys, you're going to have big games throughout your career. You're young, and that's the key. This is what this two-part thing is about, how we break these bad habits, how we step up to the plate. Okay, you're 1-0 down, you're the player that screams and demands it. I'll have it, give it to me. You know, that for me, if I'm honest, and I don't want to pretend to be a tactical expert because I'm not, but watching the game yesterday, it was crying for someone to link the play. No matter who you bring on, if there's no one deep enough to pick the ball up and link, then you've got no chance. So the point being is that, okay, be the player that sort of steps up. Be the player when you see someone put a tackle on one of your teammates, you step up. Like Cavani did a few weeks ago. I watched it on TV and he stepped up. And these are sort of key players for me, big time players, you know, big match players. That's the key, you know, going forward. And you know, you need these big match players when the pressure's on. That's the sort of key to it. Habits can reinforce a negative behavior. So the more you sort of practice fear, the more you complacent, the more you sabotage it. And then you live with the limitations. You know, the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit. The good news is people tell you can't break these, but you can. You can, absolutely. You can learn. It's harder to learn as you get older, but you can still learn. If you're struggling to technique, then you can do the best you can. So there's an NLP-based technique, you know, and it's easy the way to build motivation, behavior, and also long-lasting change. That's the key. So the fundamental part here, guys, is consciously we can distinguish between good and bad. So when I say consciously, you consciously know. Consciously, you know how to do the technique in your sport. You know how to kick a ball properly. You know how to pass. You know all this, okay? It's food and drink to you, you know. But when you are in a game situation, it's a different ball game. That's when it has to be unconscious because it's happening quickly. It's like, for example, you know, I'll use an example. So people, for example, they eat excessively, they smoke and all these things, and they know it's not good for them. They want to stop, but because unconscious, it fulfills emotional need. A bit more complex than that, but you get the gist. Logic is conscious, emotion is different. Emotion is unconscious, primal structure of the brain, and this is where we've been working on with you guys throughout this program, which is key going forward. So just to sort of touch on this, guys, you've got a subconscious mind, conscious mind. If you think of the iceberg is the tip of the iceberg, and underneath you've got 90% of the iceberg. It's two parts. So think of the conscious like the tip of the iceberg, and you can only see it, but underneath is the unconscious mind. And this is where all the things you've learned to do without thinking about them. So when you walk, you don't think, I need to take one step out of the other. When you ride a bike, if you sort of ride a bike, you don't think, I need to do this. When you write your name, you sign your name, it's unconscious. You don't think, how do I do that? You know, if you drive a car, you don't think first gear, if you manual, second gear, or if you drive, you don't think logically after you've learned. So first is unconscious. First is a conscious incompetence in the beginning. Then you learn consciously. Then it becomes conscious competence, and unconscious incompetence. Then unconscious competence, you learn, you do it. Now, for good things, it's great. For negative things, it's not good. So habitual behavior becomes automatic. Like I use the analogy, people, you know, it lasts a lifetime, even though it's bad for them. They smoke, eat the wrong food, whatever. I'm just using an example there. And they can't break it because it's deeper in the limbic system. And this applies to sport. You know, I mentioned before, like when you first learn to drive. And now if you do things like driving, you do, you know, you don't think about it consciously. So subconscious mind controls a lot of our behavior. When you think about it, your heart beats, You don't tell it, you breathe. If you cut yourself, you heal. All these things happen on their own. Okay. If like an iceberg, it breaks, then obviously the part that's going to always win is the bottom of the iceberg. And that's what we want to work on. And that's the sort of key in this sort of two-part seminar that we're going to do also next week, and do some priming and get ready. So the conscious mind can only handle a limited piece of information any given time. Like, for example, it's not a good idea to, well, it's illegal, I believe anyway, but that's why it's not a good idea for someone to drive on their phone, because you can't focus at that many things. The mind can only focus on one thing. That's why I told you during the game, you need to focus on, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? Keep telling yourself, what do I need to do now to achieve my outcome? Little sub-goals. Play what's in front of you. What do I need to do now? So you missed the goal. It's always okay. We've got to keep moving forward. The unconscious mind, on the other hand, is aware of everything. Everything that goes on. If it's a breeze, sound in the background, all these things that you delete, you ignore, they're in the unconscious mind. From day one, millions of memories, from being born, birthdays, scoring winning goal, it all goes in the subconscious mind. It's all there, but you can only recall so much. That's the other thing we're trying to focus on, is to make sure you focus on things that are going to help you. So by understanding this, guys, you understand a bit more about behavior and why some people get stuck sometimes and they don't know how to change. The thoughts, the feelings, they don't know how. Our behaviors. So I mentioned before, your fingernails grow, hair grow, you breathe, all these things happen about you. You're hungry, whatever. You don't consciously tell yourself, it happens. So a lot of what we do is metaphorically subconscious mind. So successful people, whether they're athletes, entrepreneurs, many of them master the unconscious mind to produce success. They tap into that part of the mind. That's what they tend to do well, for the most part, to achieve the result they want. So they break down. And this explains, sort of going off track a little bit here, some people make a conscious decision. I'll give you like a classic example. You've all seen people who, for example, they start the gym in January. They're all excited, I'm going to go to the gym in January. And then by February, the statistics say most of them give up in the first 6 months, with the right intentions. So basically the subconscious mind, they find an excuse, reason. It might be a valid excuse, I don't know, I don't think it's obviously, but generally speaking, over the years, that's the key. So for things to change, we need to, little habits people have got, whatever. But when you talk about football and sports, this is called new behavior generators. NLP technique is very simple and straightforward. Very powerful technique. It's good for increasing confidence, instilling motivation, controlling the anger, breaking habits, improving skill, increase performance, overcome fears and anxiety, and improve tactic awareness. As I've mentioned, I don't just use this for football. I also use other areas. So, I'll give you an example. Many years ago, when I was helping this guy, he was, I think he was getting a promotion in the military or something, and he could run, I think the distance was 1.5 miles. I don't remember now, it's years ago. But anyway, he could do it comfortably, consciously. But when he went out to practice, because there was a lot of riding on the promotion, he'd go to pieces, and he didn't get the time. So I worked with him and did this process, as well as the anchoring process we covered earlier in the seminar, to help him focus on the time he needed, the process. Okay, and he got it. And we sort of worked every now and again after that So, you know, sometimes people, they got nervous doing driving tests, and I've helped them doing this process. Exams, people get nervous, and I've done this process for them. They get nervous doing the exam academically, and I help them. In sport, I help people technique. So you tell me, well, I'm struggling with my left foot, and I'll use this to help you improve incrementally. If you say to me, well, I'm feeling not confident going into this game, then I'll sit with you, and this is what I'll do as an athlete performer. I'll guide you. I'll send the information you need. Tackle awareness. This is the key for me. So there's many things, or maybe the anger issue on the game and it's causing you problems. It could be the other way around. I work with players who, for example, they come from a nice family and brought up really well, and there's one player a few years ago, this is going back a long time ago too, one of the nicest people you'll meet, good family, and you know, wonderful people, brought up nice, but he would go on the field, and when he went on the field, if he went for 50-50 and, you know, knock someone down, he'd go up, and, you know, I'm all for, you know, give him a hand to get back up again. But, you know, you can't start apologizing in these sort of things. So, you know, this is an area to work on. I said, look, you know, this is sport. Maybe afterwards it's a different story, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm afraid it is what it is. And I know sometimes, you know, even parents say to me that I don't like the idea that I speak to the young people and say, winning is what sport is all about at this level. If you play recreation in the park, fine, not a problem. At our level, it's winning. Okay, for me to keep my job, I need to win. For everybody involved, we need to win. Need to produce results for the coaches. It is what it is. So we can't have players coming through thinking, okay, it's just, just like a recreation, club or anything like that. It is what it is, guys. Okay, it is what it is, and that's the thing. It's you have to make sacrifices. You have to do. A parent one time said to me, it's about enjoying it. I said, it is enjoying. Of course, it is enjoying the game. I completely agree. But if you want to enjoy the game, there's plenty of teams over there. Fine. I want my players to enjoy the game, but you have to make sacrifices and work hard and fight for everything. Because I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm going to say this 100 times in this seminar, when you go to trail in a team, nobody's going to say, here's my shirt, I'm going to even make you a cup of tea and some biscuit, fine, you go for it. No, not a chance. You have to fight for everything, guys. And that's the sort of mentality. You can transfer that anywhere in life, I'm afraid. It is what it is. But I don't know. I don't know what happened. In maybe things are changing again now, but I don't know what happened in terms of, competitiveness. Everybody's a winner and was coming in, and that's okay if you want to. If that works for the people that want to do that, fine. For us, not everyone's a winner. If you get an award at the academy, you get it because you've been the best at what you do and you've trained hard, you put it in, not because it's your turn. Okay, because you won't learn anything. Maybe schools, they changed and they were doing that for a while. Maybe they've changed again. Looks like they've changed again. But the bottom line is that it's an unforgiving world in that sense. You have to, and this is the key with this technique. It's about, being a competitor. That's the key to it, So, for me, the subconscious mind needs a direct map, a roadmap. And this is one of the things for me, the sessions are perfectly strategic for you guys. On Monday, you hit the ground running. One, if you've played on the weekend, hasn't gone well, then hopefully I can help you sort of pick back up again. If you've played well, I can sort of maybe, bring you down to earth and say, we go again, guys. Don't dine on yesterday. New week. And we learn something new and we go forward. which is sort of key. Okay, this will be a lot more practical when we go into this in more detail next week, and when we do the priming the following week, it's spot on what you know to move forward. Because the other sort of concern is as well, you know, you've got to be mindful. There's a lot of people get into your head. In terms of your ability, it's about staying focused. I've said before, we keep doing the best we can. So for me, it's you decide, well, what do I need to change? If I'm making mistakes under pressure, I'm losing focus, I'm doing tactical errors, technical errors, then now we need to focus and iron that out. So if you're nervous about the match coming up, if you're getting nervous about the games, then that's an area that we need to work on. It's no good if you're going into the games not channeling the nerves. It's got to be nervous, but it's sort of channeling that. Okay, we are going to give our best and give it everything. On every angle. So NLP in this process helps you change your mind from being nervous to being empowered. The new state of mind produces a new outcome. So instead of making technical error, when you get the ball for the free kick, instead of thinking, oh no, what if I missed and all these sort of things, what you do, you're empowered. You put the ball down, you choose your target, and you do your technique, and you smash it or you place it. Okay, and you do everything on the pitch with confidence. You're motivated and focused. Everything that you do, that's the sort of key, and this, we work on and sort of go from there. So to achieve the state of mind, the technique we're going to focus on is NLP-based technique called Neuroscience Generator, and this is not just for athletes; it's for coaches too, as well. Which is key to it. And I'll talk you through the first part. Next week we'll do it practical. So next week you can turn up on Monday and you can relax and even close your eyes and drift away. And I'll guide you through priming stuff, priming exercises. I'm starting workouts soon for the mind. So workouts for the mind, just like you do in the gym, we'll do workouts. And what we do is based on where you are going forward. And obviously the resources that I send you, no one has access to the resources I send. They might see this and I might get a bit of an insight, but the resources I send you and the other practical stuff is very heavily tailored for you guys to go forward, to get the edge going forward. So the first thing you need to do, and I'll talk you through this and we'll do experiential next week, identify a technique or resource, such as confidence. For example, it's really important. It could be a technique that you're struggling with, passing the ball, left foot or right foot or non-kicking foot. Then what we do, we imagine a time you did that successfully. So if you successfully take the free kick in training, then you do it in the game. If you don't take it successfully, you're learning it, and you keep going till you learn it, and you create positive feelings from doing so. And imagine going back and recreating what you saw, heard, and felt. So what I want you to do now is think of a time you took a free kick successfully, or a tackle, or a pass, and what did it feel like to do? Or when you played really well, when you played your best game. If it was on a weekend or recently, what was it like? It was prior to that, and feel it. What you saw, heard, and felt. Recreate it. Recreate the feeling. Then what you do is you imagine yourself like on a screen in the future doing the technique successfully. So you see yourself on a screen, doing the free kick, doing the tackle, passing, being confident, whatever it is that you need to improve. You see yourself doing that, going forward. That's the key, and the results you're going to get. So you're not focusing on the outcome. You focus on the process. Then what you do is you think of yourself doing technical skill enjoyably, confidently in the future, anticipating positive. So positive voice, I'm going to hit this in the top corner. I'm going to score. When you get negative voice, turn it down and turn up the positive voice. Okay, that's what you want to hear. Okay, and seeing yourself doing what you're trained to do. Focus on process. What you would do, obviously, now is see if you're happy with the process. If you don't feel you've got it, then you go back to step 3 and 4. And these are the key steps, guys. Step 3, step 4 are the key steps where you imagine yourself. They're all important steps. They're all key steps. Knowing what you want to change is key. But what's really important for me is being able to see yourself do what you want to do. So how will you look when you're playing confident? Like you're watching yourself. Just like you watch TV and other players play, think of a confident player. Think of the most confident player you can imagine, and imagine stepping in and standing in for him for a game. How would you walk, talk? Think of a confident player taking free kick. How would you stand in for them? Think of a confident player passing. How would you stand in for them? And that can be quite useful if you're sort of struggling with that yourself. And then what you do is you imagine doing it in the now. So doing it physically. So you see yourself on TV, and then you imagine muscle memory. Muscle memory is key. Okay, muscle memory is key. So the more you do it, the more you start building that muscle memory over and over again. You keep practicing and practicing. And so you practice physically, and you practice so much because you get injuries, but mentally you can practice as much as you want, pretty much. And that's the sort of key to it, guys. And on top of that, physically, you can't see yourself doing technique, but mentally you can. So you videotape yourself and you see you doing technique. It's a good idea to do that too. So that's today. Next week, we're going to start doing more practical exercises. The second part of today, we'll do next week, and we'll go straight into priming. And then beyond that, a lot of what we're going to do is going to be experiential work. So you can sit back, relax, follow it, pen, paper, whatever. There'll be experiential workouts for the mind geared towards performing in football. And that's where we sort of start focusing and sort of drive forward. That's when we sort of really start pushing forward mentally and go from there. So once again, guys, well done. Have a fantastic week, a great training session this morning. And any questions, comments, otherwise, you always got my email. Get in touch. I'll help you best I can. Take care, guys. Have a great week.